Hey guys, it's Jeff with Area North 40. Gonna do a bicycle video today, but before I get into the main video, I just wanted to show you the process that I go through when I'm gonna restore a bike. So I'm gonna show you that on this one here. This bike right here, can you see that? Is actually, it's not really worth a whole lot. I bought it for 25 bucks a few years ago at a swap meet, but it has a special meaning to me because this is the same bike that I got for my very first bike that wasn't a hand-me-down. It was a brand new bike. Me and my two brothers, we all got the exact same bike. They were older than me. I could barely touch. I mean, I had the seat all the way down and I'm tippy-toes, whereas it actually fit them a little bit better because they're older than me. Anyway, I just want to show you real quick how it is that I restore, and it's primarily through magic. So here we go. You ready? Abracazoo, I don't know. There you have it. Pretty cool, huh? That looks a lot more like what I had when I was a kid. It was sometime in the 1970s, and I was probably about 7 years old. Before that, I had gotten like smaller bikes that were pretty well thrashed by the time I got them. But I learned how to ride at a really young age and had a pretty bad accident that kind of put me off riding for a while, so I kind of almost had to relearn it. I didn't get all weird or anything. I just smashed my face on the ground really bad, and so I kind of had a little bit of a fear. But I got over it eventually and started riding again, and this is the first bike that I got. Well, not this exact one, but one exactly like this, and I loved it. And then about a month later, it got stolen. Fun stuff. But as you can see right there, that really cool number 8 looks like something out of the Omega Man movie. Probably why my favorite number is 8. I never really understood that, but it's always been my favorite number as far back as I can remember. Anyway, this is called an Enduro 8, and it was sold at Shucks Auto Supply. Or Shucks. It was just called Shucks back then. They didn't even bother saying Auto Supply. Long before they were called O'Reilly's. And they used to sell bikes, and they had several models. It's made by Huffy, so like I said, not a high-end bike or anything, but believe it or not, these bikes are coming up in major value, way more than I expected. I got lucky and got the guy to trade me a set of mags, and he was trying to sell it for 300 bucks. I was like, oh, it's not worth that. Well, I looked online, and other stuff similar to this that was the beginning. I saw, well, my brother actually, I showed him a picture of it. He couldn't believe I'd found one. He found a Enduro 7, which wasn't as cool, and he said that they were asking 700 bucks for it. So maybe this one, since it's an Enduro 8, is worth 800 bucks. I don't know, but I ain't selling it because now that I've got it back, it's a 45 plus year story that's come full circle. And so this one's a trophy bike, even though it's not worth much to most people. Well, I guess it's worth 600-800 bucks, whatever. It's worth a lot more than that to me. It's kind of priceless. I am going to just kind of give it a place of honor, keep it. I mean, it's rideable. I can ride the thing around, except for that it's so small, and I'm almost 6 foot tall. This thing's meant for a 8-year-old kid that's about, 4 foot nothing. So I can ride it around the cul-de-sac a little bit, but I couldn't really ride it comfortably. But, oh, and by the way, there's the other one. So obviously, that was a little movie trickery. I don't know, video trickery. This one I bought a few years ago, and because it's the same thing, and I couldn't believe I found that. But now that I've got one in so much better shape, I'm gonna probably clean this up. I'm probably gonna take this out right here, because that's actually, believe it or not, probably the most valuable thing on the whole bike. And a lot of guys like these for clunkers. I'll get into that in another video sometime, and I'll show you what that's all about. But I might use that gooseneck or stem on a clunker build. We'll see. But for right now, anyway, without further ado, here's the actual main part of the video of me putting my daughter's bike together. All right. On the table before you, you see already disassembled little bike. This is for my daughter. Now that might sound like it's for my 10-year-old daughter, but no, it's for my 30-year-old daughter. This bike is a Schwinn, I think it's a Fairlady. Let's see, but that says Fairlady, and that was the girls' version of the Schwinn Stingray. Something about me that you'll get to know is that I do not like messing up or painting over, spray bombing vintage bikes. I like to keep them as original as possible. The reason I don't have as much of a problem with doing it with this bike is like a 1983. It's kind of past the true classic era. Now, it is still a legitimate Schwinn, legitimately made in Chicago. Came with that little head badge there, and it says right down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, it says Chicago. Okay, so this is a true American-made bike. It's literally the last year that they made the bikes out of the Chicago plant, as far as I know, at least in mass production. It's just kind of ugly, and who cares, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and sand it down. I'm gonna spray bomb it, kind of a satin or a flat black, whatever I got in the spray can. My daughter, she just likes black. What can I say? It's just her favorite color for stuff like this. I'm gonna grant her wish, but I'm making one for her that's just got my personal touch on it. So what can I say? That's what I do. Just gonna wash up the bike a little bit here and then paint it black. All right, I'm gonna do a little sanding on this stuff. That ought to be fun content, right? You know what's funny is, I don't know if you can tell in there, but as I scratch this up just to make it rough, it's revealing that it's chrome underneath. Now these fenders, a lot of the bikes, they were chrome, and that's, you know, totally expected. But why would they chrome it and then paint over it? Why not just take the raw steel and paint it? That's it's quite odd. But Schwinn used really good paint, because that stuff, I mean, 1983, that's, you know, 40 years old, and I'm having to really work at this paint to get it to come off of here. I'm not trying to take the paint all the way off, but I'm trying to get the rust off, actually, but you know, the paint's coming too, and the paint's holding on almost as good as the rust. Now, see, this one's the back fender, and it doesn't have nearly as much rust as the front. It's quite odd. See, this is the kind of thing that makes me not want to do the body work on any of my cars. Maybe that's why I like the rusty patinas, because I'm just lazy. I can live with that. But I really do like original. It's only original once. Once you paint something or change it, it's no longer that original look. My bikes, for me, and my cars, I just clean them up, keep them the way they are for the most part. El Sandaruno or something like that. And I wish I could save that sticker, but it's pretty well gone. But it does have a lot of little nooks and crannies to get to. Do you know what a cranny is? I know what a nook is. I never knew what a cranny was. I just know that inside tight spaces is a nook or a cranny, or both. And I really don't know more than that. Leave in the comments if you know what a cranny is. Okay, so it's the next day. Yes, I'm wearing the same shirt because I just got it yesterday and I like it, but I'm wearing different shorts. Anyway, battery died on the camera just as I was about to finish up, so I didn't bother changing the battery just to finish up doing the sanding. But what I've done now is I've got this old awning. Well, I've got one there, got another one over there. But anyway, the frame of this awning actually works perfectly to hang up some stuff. Basically just using some old coat hanger that I cut up and hanging all the different components of the bike I'm gonna paint. Now, obviously this isn't a professional paint job, otherwise I'd be doing it in a booth and, you know, wearing masks and all the things. I'm gonna paint the gooseneck in a gloss, just because the handlebars are in a gloss. I actually bought them, they were already done that way. The rest of it I'm just doing in a satin, like I said, that's what my daughter wants, so she likes it ratty, like a ratty daddy. Okay, I'm never gonna say that again. Anyway, that's that. So I'll set this up here, and you can watch me paint. Shake the can. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake. I'm done. That would suck. Oh no. Running out of paint. Well, that's just the best ever. Found another can of paint here that might have some in it. Not enough. You know what that means, right? That means I have to go to the gloss black that I painted that with and hit the last few spots that need to be painted. That kind of sucks. Oh, don't touch me. Don't touch me. All right, so the important thing to remember is when you're painting, make sure you wear your brand new shirt that you love and just got yesterday, so that if you do bump into the stuff that you already painted, you get paint spots all over it. All right, well, didn't quite go exactly as planned because I wanted the bike to be satin, and I still see spots that I've missed. So I'm gonna, well, screw it. I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit, come back and hit it again. So it's gonna have a few spots that are more shiny shine than others, but I'm gonna take a little bit of that gloss paint and spray it into a cap and paint the head badge by hand, just because it's got a lot of tiny little spots. The word Schwinn in between the letters and stuff like that, I want to try and get that so that the Schwinn comes up still looking good. This is what I'm talking about. It goes right on the head or the front tube of the frame. So all that tan in there, if I can paint that black and get in between the letters and everything, I think that'll look pretty cool instead of the tan that it matched what it was before. But then the actual letters will still be white and the perimeter will be silver. I think that will actually look better. Oh, sorry, I got you aimed right at the sun. Again, still learning. So I'm gonna let that dry and then come back out and touch it up. That'll be it for right now. I'm gonna shut it down, and then when I actually start putting things together, I'll turn the camera back on and show you that process. So I'm gonna get my grease that's over here. Probably could have cleaned the old grease out a little bit better, but I didn't. So we're just gonna push this new grease right on over top of the old stuff, because there wasn't anything wrong with the old grease. I just want to make sure that they're packed really good. When I pulled it out, it was actually really super greasy, and it's bicycles, it's not automotive. If it was an automotive bearing, I would probably clean all this stuff out a lot more. But this is a bicycle that it's not going to be in any kind of races or anything. It's not going to be used that much at all, really. My daughter wanted it specifically for this camping trip that they're about to do, and she probably will ride it 3 times. That's just a guess, but it's my daughter, and I do stuff for her because I love her, and she's awesome. So that's that. And so just some new grease right on the old grease. It'll be fine, to steal a phrase. All right. So that's one. I'm gonna just do the other ones real quick. I like to keep Schwinn stuff with Schwinn stuff and not put different things. Now, when it comes to this particular bike, the wheels that I have for it, they are not Schwinn wheels, but they don't have the Schwinn tires. The axle sizes are the same, and the reason I'm going with those is because, well, they were black. I freshened up the paint a little bit on them, but to fit this, I didn't want to take the Schwinn chrome rims and scratch them all up and essentially ruin them to paint them black when I had another set that were essentially the same size and they were already black. I just had to kind of freshen it up. So that's why I went with that. Because for my daughter, she doesn't care if it's a Schwinn. She just wants it to be a black bike and be something she can ride around. I like Schwinn, so I do kind of care. If you remember from earlier, it was kind of a cream color and it had tan accessories or whatever. So this one, it was all tan in here. I hand painted that. That's why it looks so crappy. But it's black. It still says Schwinn on it, and yay, it will work. I will put it on the head badge or on the head tube in a minute, but I'm gonna get some other stuff put on there first, and then because it's got little tiny screws, and I want to be very careful with those when I put them back on. I'll save that for last. All right, what I was just doing there, that inner collar that I put in there that holds the bearing in place, even though I had snugged it down just finger tight and it was real smooth, when I put the outer nut on there and crank it down, it still kind of presses that in and puts extra pressure on the bearing, which then when you move this, you can kind of feel the bearings kind of a notchy feeling. And so I take this screwdriver that's actually meant to be hammered on. Not all screwdrivers are. So if you go hammering on a plastic handle, if you can see that, it's actually metal all the way through. It's actually meant to hit with a hammer. So I hit that the opposite direction the way I did. The nut stays where it's at, and it actually backs off a little bit against the nut, locking them both in place. That's kind of a trick recently discovered, because when I was a kid, I was always having a problem or a hard time getting that thing to be tight, but not too tight, you know. So I realized, hey, if I crank the thing down and it's tight, back the inner one off without backing the outer one off, and it'll actually tighten against itself, holding it in place really good and relieving the bearing pressure. And now, pretty nice, real nice. I didn't get that from no internet learning neither. Figured that one out for myself. All right, now this is essentially going to be the same. You can see here, this is going to be the first thing that goes on the top of the threads of the fork that's going to go up through that, and it's the same principle as this. It's got the little bit of a bevel there that's around, so the fork's going to come up through the tube. This is going to come down on the tube. It's going to hold everything together, and the bearings will sit right into here. And so the same thing, I'm going to just finger tighten it to that point, and then I will put this washer, and see, it's got that same little tab right there. I don't know, hopefully you can see that. And so that will be there, and then the top nut will come down onto that, against that. And then once I get that tight, I'll actually crank this down and then back that off a little bit, which will kind of mash them together, and it should hold it real smooth, not wiggle around in there, and not come loose. Another problem I always had when I was a kid, I'd tighten them down with my fingers, crank the thing down, I'd have to back it off a little bit so that it would steer, because if you tighten it too much, all of a sudden that steering is real stiff and can cause you to wipe out. But if you didn't do it the way I'm talking about, what would happen is it would start backing itself off, and I was constantly reaching down and retightening that with, you know, as I'm riding, cranking that down, because the whole thing starts to get loose, and well, that's not good either. First one, and no, this does not thread backwards, it's normal. This one's not quite the same. It doesn't have that notch to smack it with my screwdriver, so it doesn't work quite the same as that other thing I did a little bit ago. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's done. Now, all right, let's find the handlebars. They're buried over here somewhere. These handlebars are kind of cool. They're a new handlebar. They are not the original ones. This bike had some handlebars that were only about to right here. They were kind of short, like for a smaller kid. So yes, I know what I said about Schwinn versus not Schwinn and all that stuff. There's really two sizes on this kind of bike. There's the one that has that knurling there in the center for a smaller gooseneck like that, that's 1 inch diameter, and that's the same whether it's a Schwinn or a Huffy or any of them. They'll all fit the same on that. That's one of the few things that is the same. So I'm not done. I'm not going to tighten that all the way down, but you get the idea. There it is. So these handlebars are actually new handlebar, and the reason I got them is because chrome does not like to stay painted. So when you paint over top of chrome, even if you rough it up, the paint flakes off pretty easily. And these ones they're all the way black. They're probably powder coated, which holds a lot better. You can powder coat chrome, but I'm a rattle can guy. I don't have the means to powder coat. That's good enough for that. I'm gonna get the tires on next, I think, or the wheels, I should say. All right, we got an injury report. Owie. Okay. Don't hammer with the end of a screwdriver towards your thumb. Lesson. I'm gonna take an injury timeout to get a Band-Aid. Okay, now I've got a Band-Aid that won't stick, so I'm going to put on an electrician's Band-Aid, which is electrical tape. But there's a real Band-Aid underneath there, so I won't get, you know, dysentery or chlamydia or something. I don't know. Safety third. See how I did that? See? So I think what I'm gonna do is take this off of this stand and flip it upside down. That way gravity will work with me and not against me. It's all against me. I'm not paranoid. I don't know who told you that. Hopefully, I'll put it back up here, just upside down. Why not? Okay. Gravity will still work with me on this, I think. Okay, after a couple of setbacks and pretty much an entirely waste of time last night, I worked well into darkness right out here in the grass. And remember what I said earlier about, you know, it being a bad idea to work over grass? When you drop tiny little things, they disappear into the abyss. So my bad. Anyway, I think that I'm just like maybe 20 minutes away from having this thing back together. I've got some new hardware. I believe I've got the stuff that I'm needing, and I'm gonna try and get this thing back together all in one shot here. Without further ado, here we go. All right, there we go. Chain done. This is a WD-40 bike dry chain lube. It looked wet to me, but that's what it is. All right, fenders on, wheels on, cranks on, chain on, seat on, handlebars on. Okay. Look at that. sort of coolish. Time to take it off of here. Ooh, this thing is not as light as all those other things. This thing is actually really cool. It's a girl's bike, but I'd probably ride it. I don't care. Fat guy on a little bike. Fat guy on a little bike. Whee! And there she is, folks. All done 100%. I had to do one last little update. I went out this morning or this afternoon after I got home from work and went ahead and bought a new chain for it. So right down there, that is brand new. That way I could adjust this back into the adjustment and get a little bit proper bite on the rear wheel and axle placement. So this bike is done. Finally. It was way harder than it should have been, but I think it looks great. My son-in-law is here to pick it up and take it home to his wife so she can ride it, and they should have some good fun on their vacation. That's it for me, Jeff with Area North 40. All right, see you on the next one. Stay tuned.